live in Session 4's last week, and that was Can I Call You? And I am speaking to both Graham and Rose in Glasgow at the moment. So I have to start with this, really, because anybody who knows me even a little bit will know I'm a raging coward. And when I look at a band name and I can't automatically work out how to pronounce it, I normally run it in the other direction. But on this occasion, I got in touch with Mig, who's your record plugger, a great fella, and he told me it was the WAEVE, but why the extra E?
Well, when we were writing the record, kind of realised after writing a few songs that these motifs of sort of elemental forces and the sea and thinking about the British landscape and coastlines, that kept kind of cropping up in a lot of the music that we were writing. And then Old English for sea is spelled S-A-E. And so we kind of combined the two. So we were thinking about sort of folk histories and folk stories, and that sort of all fed into what the aesthetic of the WAEVE became. So that's sort of where that came from. And also just to sort of trip up people and create a bit of a problem for ourselves.
Well, thanks very much for that, because when I've been playing your record and raving about it, I have to say, and that was a WAEVE, and then I have to spell it every time for people to Google you to buy your record. But anyway, it works, and it's good on you. So if you don't mind, how did you two meet in the first place?
In the first place, very, very way back, we met briefly at a Pipette's gig. But we met properly at a fundraising event 2020 in December at the Jazz Cafe, when we were both involved with raising some money for the Beirut charity. We had a little bit of a chat and decided that, Rose said, maybe we should write a song or something.
Thanks for that impression.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of, I'm trying to say that it was sort of, one of those things where you say things, you maybe don't, think that maybe anything will come of it. But we made sure that something did come of it. And we had a meeting very early in the new year. We swapped some links to some music that we really liked over that Christmas. And then just started to collaborate early in January 2021. And it just, that was it, really.
We didn't really expect to necessarily have.
I didn't expect to find ourselves here now.
No.
this whole,
yeah, slightly more complicated than perhaps you envisaged. But when you
a bit more than I bargained for. Yeah.
But when you did actually start thinking about we're going to collaborate, did you have an album in mind that would sound like the WAEVE album?
Not at all. It was really. Beyond just talking about other records that we loved, there was no game plan at all. I mean, as Graham said, I thought maybe we might write one song because, there was nothing going on there. It was still basically lockdown. And there was, it's like, why not? There's nothing to lose. Yeah. But very quickly, all of these things that neither of us really discussed, they just kind of unveiled themselves in a very organic, flowing way, and it became really obvious suddenly that this is a bit of a bigger proposition, and maybe actually this is a band. It wasn't solo thing for Graham or for me. It was something of its own, and we needed to kind of pursue it and see what happened.
Because it's a really sophisticated album, isn't it? And it would have been quite easy for both of you, with your backgrounds, just to do something more subdued and more kind of, more moody, if you like. I mean, it is a moody record, but it's pretty full on, isn't it?
I think people weren't expecting us to make something that this. I think they were probably expecting a little more of a stripped down thing with smoky guitars and voice and things like that. But we couldn't quite stop having tons of fun with chord sequences and arranging strings, and then it was like dusting off the old saxophone and then getting a harmonica out, and it was just like using whatever was lying about and whatever sound we liked, we sort of kept in, and that sort of became part of what the WAEVE's sonic sort of armory was, really. It was our voices and harmonizing, and then some string arrangements, guitars obviously, and piano, but then the saxophone became a sort of a different way for me to sing lyricless stuff. Right. So that's sort of how it appeared, and we wrote the songs in real time. We were really thinking about how we were feeling in the present, and not trying to drag the past too much into it or think about the future. We were very isolated. We weren't thinking about audiences, record labels, gigs or anything. It was really purely for what we were doing right in the present in that moment.
Well, it was recorded in a home studio, wasn't it? In your home studio, and so it can either be a real danger or a blessing, that scenario, because you haven't got the constraints of having to pay by the hour for a studio and no record company breathing down your back. And some people can end up over-egging the pudding, but you just turned it into this Goliath, really. And you mentioned the sax on there, which is a big part of it. I mean, I knew you played sax anyway, but it's great to see you doing it again.
Yeah, it is great, and I love playing it. But it's a difficult thing to get right in music. And I come from a saxophone angle of sort of like, King Crimson, Van der Graaf, Generator, and Gong, and maybe a bit of Bowie. So I'm not coming in the old Spandau Ballet way. Do you know what I mean? So, so I mean, everything sonically, and of course, and I've been learning about home recording quite a lot, and knowing what I sort of like, and I like psychedelic stuff, and I like the ear to be entertained when you're listening to music. I get bored easily, but Rosa's sort of piano playing is very harmonically rich, so we take things in very different directions as well. So a lot of the songs were journeys, and some that didn't make the album got kind of out of control, and we never reined them back. We never got them back. They sort of were still going on somewhere. Getting self-indulgent, Rose is actually quite strict. She's good to have around to edit things, because I'll go on, but I'll make half an hour songs.
I mean, some of the songs are pretty long as it is. But we had to have some kind of harsh editing time after. You've got to make sure everything is there for a reason, and try not to be too. You've got to be careful of the old pompous.
Well, I mean, it would be rude to be influenced, as you say, by Van der Graaf, Generator and Gong and not have any long songs, wouldn't it? That'd just be perverse, absolutely. And there is some prog elements to it as well, I think, which coming from me is a compliment.
That's also a bit of a dangerous line, but I think it's the way that we've kind of utilised that is more the spirit in which, as Graham was talking about, the spirit in which the songs are written, which was we wanted to push each other into different territories that neither of us had necessarily explored before. And Graham was really great at giving me a bit of a kick up the bum and getting me to use my voice in a different way. And likewise, I think I was hopefully encouraging to Graham to maybe, even play the saxophone, or just like really go for it with the way he approached his singing and the guitar playing. And so I think we were quite a good like mirrors to each other in that way.
It was a good support to have somebody there during such a weird time when we were both, wondering, and lots of other people wondering what the hell the future was going to be like. It was a bit like, what the hell? We've got to explore these themes that we're coming up with, and so that's. I mean, you can explore them so much that things do get extremely long. You explore every avenue presented in a song and a chord progression, you go mental. But you do have to cut it down a little bit. But it was great to have that support and encouragement, and just feel like it was a total 50-50 collaboration, and no one was dominant over the other, and it was just fun. It was fun as well.
It was really fun.
It was intense.
It was a laugh.
Well, I loved the show last night. As I say, I missed some of it, and you very kindly had the two of the songs that we've been playing an awful lot on this programme later in the set. And but it was great to see the band as well. I mean, we need to give them a mention, because obviously they were brilliant last night. They're on tour with you. They feature on this session. So would you like to just run through who the band members are? Because I know most of them.
Yeah, well, we've got Charlotte Coxon on sax and violin, who is a brilliant musician in her own right and does loads of different things, plays with all kinds of people like Roxy Music, and then has her own jazz thing happening. Got along two of my really old friends, Thomas White, who has been in Electric Soft Parade and Breaks and beautiful solo records, and he's just one of the best musicians I know, and Joe Chilton, who played for me in my solo thing, but also was in Young Husband, and he's on bass, and they're just a lovely bunch. And it's, I think we were both a little bit nervous, when we suddenly realised, oh God, we're going to have to play this live, how is it going to work? And those people have just made it completely just really easy and really fun. And I think it sounds pretty good if I say so myself.
It does. Well, I'll back that up completely. And so, Graham, if I can just ask you, what's it like? Are you enjoying playing smaller venues again? I know you've only done a couple. You've done a couple previously beyond this tour. You know, I mean, from what you're used to with Blur.
Yeah, I love a small. These are perfect for me. I like to get heated up. It's good for the rheumatism. I like it. I like being very close to the audience. I don't know. Yeah, big shows can be a little impersonal, and you know they'd be a bit dry. I like to get a bit of a sweat on. So
right.
I like smaller venues, and this is perfect. And I think it's a kind of a perfect size to see bands. Really, these sort of size venues, which are what. Couple of hundred, 400-ish,
500,
between that.
That would have been that last night, yeah, I would imagine. Yeah. And so, but the cliche is that it's more nerve-wracking playing in a small venue because you can see the whites of their eyes and their expressions and all that. You've got a couple of gigs coming up at Wembley Stadium, which will be the two biggest headlining gigs of your life, I imagine.
Yeah, I think they are. But we congregate in a very small area of the stage.
Right. Yeah.
We try to. We've got to try and make that as sort of personal as possible, but bear in mind there's a lot of people there.
Yeah, it's going to be a ding-dong, that, isn't it? And I do remember seeing Rykuda. I remember seeing Rykuda play at the NEC, and he was just sat there in the middle on his own, and he was amazing, of course he was, but he just stopped for a moment, and he said, do you know what? He said, I'm used to playing in auditoriums that are smaller than this stage, and he wasn't even joking, you know, it just kind of taken off for him. And so it is a completely different beast, obviously.
It is, but you can be very loud on them stages.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know if you remember, but the Shire Horses opened up for Blur on 3 of the dates.
Yeah.
And,
I know.
I mean,
those were the days.
Those were the days. I can't even remember them. Listen, so great to see you, so happy and working so brilliantly and with the band and everything. I've got the tour dates which I will read out shortly. We're going to play another track now. This is Sleepwalking, recorded for us last week. And have a great show tonight. Have a great tour, and I will see you in show business.
Lovely. Thanks so much.
You take care. See you. Bye-bye. Okay.